When a man genuinely likes you, you can sense it long before he has the courage or the clarity to say it out loud. And often, the first place it reveals itself is in the moment he sees you. That tiny window between noticing you and greeting you becomes a snapshot of everything he feels but hasn't yet verbalized. His energy shifts, his attention sharpens, his expression softens in ways he doesn't show to anyone else. It's not because he's trying to impress you, it's because your presence activates a different version of him, one he doesn't summon for just anyone. You'll notice this shift in those first few seconds. He could be laughing with friends, half distracted by his phone, or mentally somewhere else entirely, but the moment he catches sight of you, something changes. There's a pause, a flicker, a moment where he recalibrates. His posture straightens slightly, his eyes focus, and everything about him becomes a little more intentional. Men don't consciously plan this, it's instinctive. When a man likes you, he becomes more present around you than he is in most areas of his life. And that presence is one of the strongest indicators of genuine interest. What makes this greeting so different from the ones he gives others isn't the words, it's the energy underneath them. Because a man who likes you isn't simply acknowledging your existence, he's reacting to your effect on him. You'll hear it in his tone. You'll see it in his smile or the attempt to hide one. You'll feel it in the way he subtly or even awkwardly tries to communicate, "I am happy you're here," without making it obvious enough for the world to see. Attraction makes people vulnerable even if they pretend otherwise, and men, especially those who are cautious with their feelings, reveal themselves in these smaller, unguarded moments. This shift is also emotional. He becomes more curious, more attentive, more attuned to you. If someone else walks in, he may glance. But when you walk in, he doesn't just look, he notices. There is a difference. Noticing is awareness mixed with intention. It's the mind going, pay attention. And even if he tries to play it cool, that visceral recognition breaks through in the greeting. Maybe his voice lifts slightly. Maybe he suddenly becomes more articulate, or less so. Maybe he holds eye contact half a second longer than with anyone else. These details seem small, but they are human tells. They reveal what the heart hasn't yet dared to express. What's important is that you don't dismiss these shifts as trivial, because they carry the emotional truth people often struggle to communicate verbally. You are reading the undercurrent, not the script. And when you can do that, you no longer waste time on men who are indifferent, because indifference has no energy shift. It has no spark in the greeting. It has no moment of recognition. It's flat, polite, surface level. The greeting of a man who likes you is alive. Even if subtle, it's unmistakably different. The insight to take with you is simple. The way a man greets you is often the purest version of how he feels. Before logic interferes, before fear steps in, before ego starts negotiating, his first instinct is honest. Trust that instinctual moment. It tells you more than his words ever will. When a man genuinely likes you, one of the clearest signs lies not in how he speaks to you, but in how he prepares himself before he speaks to you. This preparation isn't conscious. It's not something he sits down and strategizes. It's more like an instinctual recalibration that kicks in because your presence holds weight in his emotional world. And this internal shift often reveals itself in the greeting he gives you. It's not merely a hello. It's a small moment of mental alignment that shows he wants to present the best and truest version of himself. Think about how people behave when they are around someone they admire. There is a small, almost invisible pause before the interaction begins. For men, this pause is a signal of investment. Even if he's naturally confident, even if he's surrounded by others, even if the environment is chaotic, the moment he recognizes he's about to greet you, something in him becomes more aware, more intentional, more focused. It's the quiet let me get this right moment that only surfaces when he cares about the impression he makes. You may notice it in the way he adjusts himself, straightens, softens, relaxes, or becomes slightly more alert. He might fix his expression without realizing it, give a deeper breath before he speaks, or subtly shift his stance. These micro gestures are small, but meaningful. They represent his desire to attune himself to the moment, not because he's trying to manipulate how you see him, but because you naturally bring out the part of him that wants to show up fully. This internal preparation also shows in the way he tunes out distractions. A man who is indifferent won't change his focus when you appear. His energy will remain scattered, surface level, unaltered. But a man who likes you will unconsciously move you to the center of his emotional attention. He might stop whatever he was doing, even for a second. He might put away his phone, shift toward you, or quiet the conversation he was having. These aren't grand gestures. They're natural corrections the mind makes when something meaningful enters the room. What's interesting is that this preparation is often more revealing than anything he actually says. Words can be rehearsed, polite, or routine, but the body doesn't lie. You can tell when someone's energy is aligning itself with yours. You can feel when a person wants the moment to go well, even if he isn't fully sure why he feels that way. He senses a chance, however small, to connect, and he doesn't want to squander it. This is why reading a greeting is less about analyzing behavior and more about sensing intention. Humans reveal themselves in the moments they think don't matter, the seconds before action. When a man prepares himself before greeting you, he is showing you that your presence matters enough to adjust himself emotionally and psychologically. That adjustment is a form of respect, attraction, and interest all interwoven. And the lesson here is to trust the subtle truth. A man who values you aligns with your presence. He doesn't stumble into the interaction carelessly. He steps toward it consciously, even if quietly. If you can recognize that difference, you'll stop guessing who cares and start noticing who shows it before they even open their mouth. What truly separates a man who likes you from a man who's simply being polite is the way he remembers the smallest things you say. It's not the big stories or the dramatic moments he holds on to. Anyone can recall those. It's the subtle details, the passing comments, the parts of your life you didn't think twice about mentioning. When a man genuinely likes you, he listens with a level of presence that goes beyond the moment. He listens because he wants to understand you, not just respond to you. And that difference becomes unmistakable. There's something deeply telling about selective memory. We remember what matters to us. We remember what our mind deems important. So when he brings up something small you said in a previous conversation, it reveals that your voice didn't just land. It stayed. It lingered. It took up space in his mental and emotional world, and he might not even fully understand why he remembers it. Attraction works that way. The HEA. RT retains the things the mind hasn't yet articulated. And notice how these remembered details shape the way he interacts with you. If you mentioned you had a stressful week, he'll ask how things turned out. If you casually talked about a book you loved, he might reference it or even look it up. If you mentioned your favorite drink without thinking much about it, he'll bring it up later or use it as a point of connection. These gestures may seem small, but they represent something significant. He's building a mental map of who you are, piece by piece. A man doesn't invest that kind of focus in someone who is just a momentary distraction. This kind of attention is especially meaningful because it reflects emotional intelligence. It shows that he's not just reacting to your presence, he's absorbing it. He's engaging with your inner world, not just your outer expression. And it suggests something deeper. He's imagining what it would be like to be closer to you, to be part of your life, to understand you on a level that goes beyond surface chemistry. A man who doesn't care won't remember. He won't track the emotional breadcrumbs you naturally, effortlessly leave in conversation. You won't see him following the threads of who you are. But a man who likes you, truly likes you, will pick up those threads almost without thinking. And he won't just store them, he'll use them to create a deeper sense of connection, familiarity, and warmth. It's important to understand that this isn't manipulation, it's resonance. When something resonates with us, we revisit it, we replay it, we reflect on it. He remembers these details because in some way you have awakened a part of him that pays attention, that cares, that attaches meaning. So the next time a man brings up something small you said in a moment you barely recall, recognize what's actually happening. You're not just being remembered, you're being valued. You're occupying mental space even in your absence. And the quiet truth is this: we don't remember everyone, but we always remember the ones who move us. When a man truly likes you, there's a noticeable shift in the way he approaches conversations with you, not just during them, but before they even begin. Most people speak to respond, to fill silence, or to exchange basic information. But someone who's genuinely drawn to you prepares himself mentally and emotionally before he speaks to you. It's not about rehearsing lines or trying to impress you in some artificial way. It's about wanting the interaction to feel meaningful, wanting to come into the moment with intention rather than laziness or carelessness. You can hear this preparation in his tone. It's calmer, more grounded, more present. A man who sees you as just another conversation doesn't think about how he's going to show up. He simply floats in and out of interactions with no real energy behind them. But a man who likes you takes a moment to gather himself. He checks in with his own confidence. He makes sure he's not distracted or half engaged. He wants to meet you as his best self, not because he's trying to earn your affection, but because he instinctively knows that the way he comes across to you matters. And the truth is, this kind of preparation says more than the words he eventually speaks. Think about it. Anyone can say charming things. Anyone can come up with compliments or jokes, but very few people take responsibility for their energy. Very few people think, before the interaction even begins, how do I want her to feel after talking to me? That's emotional maturity. That's intention. That's a man who understands the impact he has on others and cares enough to make that impact a positive one for you. You'll notice he's not flustered, not scrambling for something clever say. Instead, he approaches you with a quiet confidence that feels reassuring rather than performative. He looks like someone who wants to be understood as much as he wants to understand you. His tone becomes an invitation, not just to conversation, but to connection. There's also a deeper psychological layer to this. When we value someone's perception of us, we naturally organize ourselves before we engage with them. We center our thoughts, regulate our emotions, and align our actions with our intentions. In other words, we show up. A man who prepares himself before speaking to you is showing, without even realizing it, that he considers your presence in his life meaningful enough to deserve his best. This preparation creates a different kind of chemistry between you. It builds a foundation of respect, attentiveness, and emotional attunement. It makes interactions feel less like two people passing time and more like two people building something, even if neither of you has put words to it yet. And it's why, after talking to a man like this, you walk away feeling lighter, seen, understood. Because he didn't just talk to you, he arrived for you, so pay attention to the man who steadies himself before he speaks. The man whose tone softens when you enter the room, the man who takes that microscopic pause to become fully present. That pause isn't empty, it's full of intention, and intention is the beginning of every real connection. In the end, anyone can talk, but only someone who truly values you prepares their heart before offering their words. When a man is genuinely interested in you, one of the clearest signs isn't found in what he says, it's in how he speaks. Because when a man cares, he becomes acutely aware that his words have impact. He knows they can uplift you, confuse you, or even unintentionally hurt you, and so you'll notice he slows down just enough to choose them with intention, not to manipulate or impress you, but to make sure he's actually communicating, not carelessly reacting. There's a kind of emotional intelligence in this, a self-awareness that says, my feelings aren't the only ones in the room. Many people speak impulsively. They talk from whatever emotion is loudest in the moment, frustration, excitement, insecurity, and leave the other person to deal with the fallout. But a man who likes you doesn't want his emotions to trample yours. He thinks before he speaks because he respects the space you share. He considers how his tone might be interpreted, how his phrasing might land, how his honesty can coexist with kindness. This is the difference between someone who is simply attracted to you and someone who is emotionally ready for you. What's interesting is that this level of thoughtfulness often shows up early, even before a relationship has any labels. You might notice he rephrases something mid-sentence because he realizes his first wording didn't reflect what he meant. You might see him pause when he's frustrated, taking a moment before responding because part of him instinctively wants to protect the connection, not damage it. Or maybe he's vulnerable in a way that feels deliberate, not dumping emotions on you, but choosing to share parts of himself with care. This is a man who understands the difference between honesty and recklessness. He knows that truth delivered WI. Without intention can feel like a weapon, but truth delivered with consideration can build trust. And trust is what he's trying to build with you, whether he's fully conscious of it or not. He wants you to feel safe with him, not safe from conflict, but safe from emotional chaos, safe from the kind of communication that leaves you wondering where you stand. When a man takes responsibility for his words, is because he's thinking long term. He's thinking about the kind of connection he wants to create and the kind of man he wants to be within it. He's aware that the foundation of any deep bond isn't chemistry. It's clarity, consistency, and emotional maturity. And he knows those qualities are communicated not in grand gestures, but in the quiet discipline of choosing words that honor both his truth and your heart. So when you notice a man speaking with intention, don't underestimate what it means. It's not just politeness. It's not him being careful in a superficial sense. It's him revealing the seriousness with which he regards you. It's a glimpse into the depth of his respect, his desire to show up well, and his awareness of your emotional world. In a culture where so many people speak without thinking, the person who speaks with intention stands out. And when a man does that with you specifically, it's one of the clearest signs that you aren't just a moment in his life. You're someone he wants to protect, someone he wants to understand, someone he genuinely hopes to move closer to. And sometimes the most sincere interest isn't loud, it's thoughtful. Not rushed, but considered. Not dramatic, but deeply deliberate. There's another layer to this greeting that almost no one pays attention to, and it's the layer that matters most, the emotional honesty behind it. Because when a man uses a greeting that feels different, softer, warmer, or more intentional, he's revealing something. He doesn't always have the courage to say directly. He's showing you the emotional space he holds for you in his life. And that space becomes obvious in the way he transitions into your presence. Most people think attraction shows up in grand gestures, in dramatic confessions, in over-the-top declarations. But real interest shows up in the subtle shifts of how a man enters a moment with you. A man who truly likes you doesn't just greet you, he recalibrates around you. His energy changes, his attention sharpens, his tone softens, his guard drops by a few degrees. When he says your name, it sounds like an invitation, not just a label. And even if the moment is casual or imperfect, there's an unmistakable familiarity in the way he opens himself to the interaction. That greeting becomes a bridge between what he feels and what he's trying, cautiously and imperfectly, to communicate. But here's the deeper truth. The meaning of his greeting isn't just in how he delivers it, it's in how quickly he returns to himself afterward. A man who is simply being polite greets you and moves on. A man who is passively interested greets you but doesn't invest further. A man who genuinely likes you greets you and then stays, emotionally, mentally, and sometimes physically, because the greeting isn't the point. It's the doorway to what he hopes will happen next. And this is where so many women overlook the most important signal. It's not that he said, "Hey, you," with that little smile. It's that he stayed in the moment long enough for something real to unfold. He lingers in conversation. He asks a question he didn't need to ask. He searches for the thread that keeps the interaction alive. His greeting becomes the starting point of connection, not the end of an obligation. What makes this powerful is that it isn't dramatic. It's human. It's vulnerable. It's the kind of signal a man gives when he hasn't fully decided whether it's safe to show his feelings, but he can't hide the direction his heart is leaning. And if you're not paying attention, you might dismiss it as friendliness. But friendliness doesn't carry emotional significance. Interest does. And interest always reveals itself in how someone initiates with you. Once you understand this, you stop waiting for the big signs and start noticing the small, consistent ones. You stop doubting your intuition. You stop downplaying what you feel. And instead of asking, "Is this real?" you ask a far more empowering question. What am I going to do with this information? Because that greeting, subtle, soft, intentional, doesn't just tell you he likes you. It tells you that you matter enough to influence his behavior. And when someone shows you that kind of emotional truth, your job isn't to chase it or cling to it. Your job is simply to meet his authenticity with your own. And here's the final reminder. The smallest moment can reveal the biggest truth. Don't underestimate the greeting that makes you pause. Sometimes that pause is the very beginning of something real.